Okay, so, there are lots of different factors that have contributed to the rising cost of living. And many people are definitely finding the increases hard to deal with. And it is going to be affecting us in various ways. But today I am going to be sharing, practical ways to manage inflation. We're going to be discussing how you can budget effectively, handle any debts that you may be going through, and exploring, ways to generate some additional income to help you enjoy a financially stress-free Christmas. Okay, so by the end, I hope you are going to feel empowered, with tools and strategies to make the most of your holiday season. Okay, so as Deborah mentioned as well, please use the chat function, use the Q&A button to ask any questions that is relevant to this topic. There is no such thing as a silly question, okay? So please do not be afraid to ask. Let's try and keep it as engaging as possible. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so first, let's talk about inflation. Okay, so inflation is the increase in prices for goods and services. So, we would have all noticed everyday essentials like our food, fuel, housing have become more expensive. So, for example, you may have noticed that the cost of a grocery shop may have gone up by about 10 to 15% over the past year. And if a holiday meal last year would have cost about £50, this year is probably closer to about £60, potentially even more than that. Okay, so it does help to focus on tracking price changes. So you want to notice where prices have risen the most. So it could be dairy products, meat, energy would have gone up as well. Knowing all of this can help you to prioritize or even potentially find substitutes, like opting for a vegetable-based meal or even reducing portion sizes. Okay, so of course, also consider bulk purchasing. So, if you're preparing meals for multiple gatherings, for example, buying non-perishable ingredients in bulk can really cut down on repeated costs. Okay, so while we can't really control inflation, these small things can help soften its impact on our holiday budgets. Okay, so now we're going to discuss budgeting. Let's have a look at budgeting now. So a budget is very crucial, especially around the holidays when it is very, very easy to overspend. Okay, I always like to say having a budget is the first step to taking control of your finances. Okay, so create a holiday specific budget, break down all expected holiday expenses, including gifts, your decorations, food, travel, any special outings or events that you've got coming up. You want to make sure you set realistic limits. Okay, so for any gifts, consider potentially a cap per person. So for instance, instead of buying many small gifts for children, focus on one meaningful item, or you could even organize a secret Santa exchange with the family to reduce the number of gifts that you need to buy. I would also say track your spending. Okay, so there are loads of budgeting apps you can use, some really good ones out there such as Emma or Snoop, like the rapper, so that you can monitor your holiday expenses, you can monitor it in real time, and you can make adjustments on your appropriate limits. Okay, budgeting can also be the roadmap out of debt. So at times, we may want to try and hide from our finances when we are in difficulty, but creating that budget to start chipping away at those debts is the first logical step. And it is probably the most neglected as well. From when I speak to people, it is often a neglected subject. So it can also help you identify areas you can cut down on. So having a look at your bank statements, if you're somebody that uses contactless cards, it's easy to lose track of how much you're spending. Have a look at the past 3 months worth of your expenses and seeing if there's any weaknesses that you've noticed that you can potentially cut down on. Okay, and of course, it can allow you to get into the habit of saving as well, saving towards your financial goal. What are those? Think about your short-term, your medium, and your long-term plan. Now, when we're talking about budgeting, we're not saying budgeting is about depriving yourself. What it is about making sure your spending aligns with what you can truly afford so that the new year doesn't start off on the wrong foot. So it's all about making the season special without actually compromising on your financial health. Okay, so we are talking about your overall financial well-being. When we're thinking about your financial well-being, it also has an effect on your mental well-being and your physical well-being as well. So we want to make sure at least the financial well-being aspect is right. So sticking with budgeting now. So we've got a case study here. So just have a look at Joanne. She's currently earning £29,000 a year. She's contributing 5% to her workplace pension. So after all deductions, her take-home pay is £1,857.70. So one of her goals is to save up for a house deposit. Okay, at the moment, like a lot of people, she's finding it very difficult. But let's have a look on the right-hand side, her expenses, okay, from her rent payments all the way down to her mobile phone contract. So this is where I'm going to need you to get your thumbs ready, fingers and thumbs ready, type in the chat function. Looking at her expenses at the moment, where do you feel like she can cut down so that she can increase her disposable income from £97.70 to maybe about £200 or so? What do you feel like she can cut down on in order to increase her disposable income? So we've got rent, we've got household bills, food shopping, travel to work, eating out, takeaway, subscriptions, and mobile phone. Is there 1, 2, potentially 3 things on here you feel like we can cut down on? Please feel free to type it in the chat function. And Stephen, this is probably where I'll need your help. If anybody's typing in, I'll probably need you to read out what people are saying, because I don't have any access to the chat function at the moment.
Okay, we've got food shopping, we've got mobile phone, eating out and takeaway. What else is there? Subscriptions, SIM only phone contract, half the subscription. Some really good stuff here. But yeah, that's going up. Go to Lidl for food.
That's a really good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. We're going to talk about that one in a few slides as well.
Oh, there's another one here. It says, see where you can get better deals on household bills. So checking your utilities. That's really good as well. Brilliant. And another one, bike loan to cycle to work. Great one.
Brilliant. So we look on the second page here. So really, really good examples that everyone has posed to us. So we've got here, so her rent, utility bills, she hasn't changed this. So somebody made a good point there about looking online, comparing. There's a really good website called USwitch where you can have a look at, seeing if there is a cheaper alternative to your utility bills. So let's just assume at this point, Joanna has already done that. She's noticed that she's got the cheapest on the market at the moment. Food shopping. So yes, some really good points. Aldi's, Lidl's, etc. Those are the type of cheaper supermarkets that you can, reduce your spending. Traveling to work. We haven't highlighted this one already because this is going to vary from person to person. Let's just assume that Joanne is, she lives, she works completely far from where she's living. So she does need to continue spending. But if you only live about 5 minutes down the road, of course, you can walk to work. You can also do cycle to work as well. So, of course, that will save you a lot of money. But the ones that we've highlighted as well, so eating out and takeaways, subscriptions, these are definitely big areas. When I'm speaking to people, financial health check, which I will discuss more at the end, these are areas, this is a sort of a big problem, across the board. So certainly I'm guilty of this. I have been guilty of this in the past. You get loads of notifications on your phone nowadays for Deliveroo and Just Eat apps, and everywhere you're getting adverts thrown in your face, McDonald's and all of these places. So it can be quite easy and quite tempting to spend money in these areas. So now I'm not saying cut down in these areas completely. Of course, if you want to have a cheeky takeaway every so often, that's fine. But I'm speaking to people who are doing about 3 or 4 every single week. So you want to cut that down. If you're somebody that's doing this, cut that down from 3 or 4 times a week to potentially once or twice a month. Okay. And then subscriptions. How many subscriptions do you have? Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney, Paramount, loads. Every single day, it feels like there's a new subscription being thrown in our face. So it does help to, research. Go on Google, research the upcoming films and TV projects, that you feel will interest you. and then just choose the, subscription platform that is going to be showing these things. So you might have Netflix for the month of November, and then cancel Netflix at the end of the month, move on to Amazon the following month, rather than paying for multiple subscriptions in the same month, because it does really add up. Okay, you'll be surprised as to how much it adds up to over the course of the year. Same with, things like music subscriptions as well. There's always different types of subscriptions being thrown in our faces. And then mobile phone contracts. So it was a funny one. So for me as well, I used to be paying £60 a month on my mobile phone contracts. But having a look at one of the comparison websites called the Money Saving Expert, which is run by Martin Lewis, I found a deal one there. So I was able to cut down from £60 a month to £12 a month. So well done to whoever raised that point as well. So these are the things. Have a look at different comparison websites: Money Saving Expert, Money Supermarket, USwitch, compare the market. You will find amazing deals on there that is going to help you save money. Okay, but in Joanna's case, she was able to now save about £232.70 as opposed to under £100 in the previous slide. So this is what I mean. Having a look at your bank statements over the past 3 months, I guarantee you there will be a few things on there that you'll be able to cut down on, so that you will be able to save a bit more money going forward. Okay, so let's now have a look at debt. Okay, so debt is a tricky area around the holidays. Many people feel pressured to use credit. Okay, when it comes to gift giving or holiday events, and this can snowball into financial stress over the new year. How many times do you speak to people when they say, I have no money over January? Same thing has happened to me over the past few years as well. But when it comes to debt, managing your debt responsibly during Christmas is very, very important to prioritizing your payments. Okay, so if you are already carrying debt, focus on paying off your highest interest loans or credit cards first, because this is going to save you more in interest charges over time. Okay, and when it comes to repayments, if you're not concerned about your debts, but you've done your budget and it's highlighted that you have got some disposable income, then you can look at either increasing your repayment amount. You could even increase your frequency. So let's say, for example, you're paying once a month. Let's say you're paying every month. You're paying about £100 a month on your credit card. If you were to change this to pay £50 every 2 weeks, then over the course of the year, you would have paid £1,300 as opposed to £1,200 if you were to only make one payment a month. Okay. You can also make overpayments. So maybe you've come into some money, you want to make a lump sum towards your debts. You can do so as well. But it is important that with any of these, you can afford to do it, first of all, and you've also checked with your provider what the terms and what the conditions are, just to make sure it is definitely worth your while. Now, the third point we have on the screen is debt consolidation. Okay, so this is for people who are, you're probably juggling multiple debts. You're finding it very stressful. So you can opt for a debt consolidation loan from your bank or from a lender, because this can be a way to simplify your repayments and allow you to get back on track. So what a debt consolidation loan does, it gives you the opportunity to merge all of your debts together, giving you a single interest rate with recurring payments and a clear loan term. And you would have cleared your debt by the end of it. Okay, so what you can do when you go into the bank, ask them to conduct a quotation loan. Okay, a loan search, for example. When you do this, they'll be able to give you an indication whether or not you would be granted the loan or not. And worst case scenario, if they say no, you are unlikely to be approved. You're unlikely to be approved for the loan. It's not going to affect your credit rating in any way, because it was only a loan search that was done on your file, or a soft search. Ask them to conduct a soft search on your file. And if they say no, it's not going to affect you negatively. Okay, but have a look at the debt consolidation loan. So there are online calculators as well that can help you assess if this is the most cost-effective option for you. As having done your budget, you will know what you can afford on a monthly basis. Okay, and then finally, we have the credit card balance transfer option. Now, this can save you money when you move your balance from one of your existing credit cards onto a brand new balance transfer card. Okay, so you save money as typically you're moving what you owe onto a card with a completely lower interest rate, or sometimes even a 0% interest rate. Okay, so it means having one monthly payment rather than multiple payments, and the opportunity to chip away at your debts without any interest mounting up. So again, looking at the comparison websites like Money Supermarket to see who is offering a balance transfer credit card with 0% for the longest period of time. So it does take a lot of pressure off. There may be a one-off fee that you need to pay off. It might be 0.3% up to 3% for the transfer, but at least you know you have 0% for the next 18 months or 24 months. So that will take a lot of pressure off. So you want to keep holiday spending within manageable limits, because this is going to ensure that you're not burdened with any unnecessary debt, making it easier for you to start afresh in the new year. All right, so now let's discuss supporting you with your costs. So we're going to discuss energy first. Okay, so there are many resources out there to help cover your essential costs during the holiday season, especially as colder weather, with colder weather means highly utility payments are going to be higher in some cases. So if you are struggling to pay your bills, really important to speak with your energy provider as soon as you can. It may be the earlier you speak to them, the more options they are going to have available to you. And big energy firms have charitable trusts and funds that can help you if you are struggling with debt. Okay. And with these providers, you will usually need to be a customer of them first. However, British Gas, they do offer help to non-customers as well. So if you're with another provider, E.ON, for example, they can't offer you the support, please reach out to British Gas and they can see what they can do for you. The applications for grants are judged on a case-by-case basis, but there is support available. Okay, it's just up to you to make that decision and that first step to speak to them. You can also check if you are eligible for the warm home discount. So it does require suppliers to help vulnerable people pay for their energy over the winter. You will usually get a letter between now and the start, early January. So if you are eligible for the scheme, or you are required to offer more information before claiming this discount, if you are eligible, your electric supplier will automatically apply the discount to your bill by the end of March, okay, of next year. So really important to contact them if you have not received a letter at all. If you haven't received a letter by January next year and you feel like you are eligible for this warm home discount, then contact the warm home discount scheme. You just Google search warm home discount. There are eligible checkers as well. So you've got entitled to, you've got turn to us, and they will confirm whether you are eligible for the warm home discounts. Okay, so now moving on to housing. So higher interest rates are definitely, having an impact on mortgage and rent payments. I'm sure you're all aware. So if you have a mortgage, if you're coming to the end of a fixed or a discount rate deal, and maybe you're worried about volatile mortgage interest rates, really important that you contact your mortgage provider as soon as possible. They can discuss your options for you. You can start speaking to them around 6 months before your current deal comes to an end. Most lenders have a team to retain customers, and they can offer preferential rates to existing customers as well. For anyone that is worried about missing payments in the future, talk to them, about alternative arrangements. If payments are becoming unmanageable, ask about ways to make them more affordable, which could include increasing the term of your mortgage. It may be, taking a payment holiday, or even accepting lower payments for a short period of time. Now, to the second point, the mortgage charter. So all lenders that are on, the FCA, for example, they've basically agreed that anyone that are worried about mortgage repayments, you can contact lenders for help and guidance without any negative impacts on your credit file. Okay, so this is where, if you feel like you are going to be struggling in the future, I would encourage you to speak to your bank, who are there to help you without any judgment whatsoever. There is also another option with your lender called breathing space. So you can get temporary protection from your creditors while you are getting debt advice and plans. So you can get temporary protection for up to 60 days. You will still need to make your debt repayments, but if you do get that breathing space, enforcement action cannot be taken against you whatsoever. Also, your creditors cannot contact you about debts included in your breathing space, and your creditors can't add any interest or charges to your debts. As well as that, if you have been, if you're getting mental health crisis treatment, if you've been diagnosed with mental health, your protection from creditors will be longer, so you can get up to 30 days in additional breathing space. Now, as well as that, in terms of housing support and advice, there is services out there called Shelter. You've got Step Change Debt Charity. You've got National Debt Line. You've got the Citizens Advice Bureau. You've got the Money Helper website. I mentioned as well the benefits checkers like Entitled To and Turn to Us, which can help you with, looking for grant supports, etc. Basically, what I'm saying, there's many, many resources out there that can help you. Okay, nobody wants to see you thrown out on the street. Shelter, they've helped me in the past. They're basically campaigns, for your right to have somewhere to live, whether you're renting or whether you have a mortgage. So, as I said, with debt, it can be quite nerve-wracking to speak to someone. You might feel judged when speaking to someone when going through debt, but there are many, many resources out there. So it's up to you to make the first step to speak to someone. The earlier you speak to them, the more support you will have at your disposal. Okay, so now let's have a look at some practical tips for saving. We want you to save money during the holidays. Many, many resources, many, many things you can do to support you. So firstly, we're going to discuss energy. So firstly, I would say double check that your direct debit is correct. Okay, the amount you pay by direct debit definitely should reflect your energy usage. Okay, so if the direct debit value is too high, then this can result in having high amounts of credit within your provider. And if this is the case, then you can request the direct debit amount to be reviewed and any excess credit to be refunded to you. Okay, many people don't know this, but this is something that you can do. Also, if you've not had your boiler service in a while, it's definitely a good idea to get it done ahead of the cold winter approaching. Ideally, you should try and get it done at least once every 12 months, just to ensure it is working efficiently and also to spot any issues early before they become very costly and beyond repair. Other tips for energy, I would say for each degree you cut your thermostat, you can expect to cut your bills down by about £65 a year on average for a typical home. And also think about having, heating only the room that you're in. So rather than heating the whole house, like me at the moment, I'm in my living room delivering this presentation. I've only got the heating on in this living room. Okay, so this is going to save me quite a lot of money. You can also look at electric blankets. You can get them for cheap prices online, Amazon, eBay, etc. And also you can save around £30 a year by using a washing machine on a 30-degree cycle instead of having them on a higher temperatures. And also doing things like turning off the lights when you're not using them. It's a little bit, it can be a bit, sometimes you can forget, but every time you go into a room and you come out of the room, just turn off the lights when you're not using them, etc. And also you can do things like showering for 4 minutes, which can save a household around £75 a year. Okay, so little few hints and tips that you can use there. Now, with regards to food, okay, so first consider buying in bulk for holiday meals if it will be cheaper and you can indeed store it. Try holiday meal sharing. So for example, if you're hosting, suggest a potluck where each guest brings a dish. So this can definitely reduce the cost burden on the host and it can make the meal more diverse as well. I would also say make a shopping list before you go out and plan your meals, because this is where you don't end up overspending on items, and items won't end up going to waste, and you're not tempted by offers that you don't necessarily need as well. Okay, so there are also really, really good apps that you can download to help reduce food waste. There are apps called Olio and Too Good To Go. You can get really helpful deals out there. I delivered this session to a group about last year. They said they got about £25 worth of items from Costa Coffee for about £3. Okay, so they are going to help you save money. We've spoken about a few comparison tools earlier on. We spoke about USwitch for energy. When it comes to food, you can use Trolley. Okay, so download that app Trolley. Really, really good comparison tool. You can type in a simple word like bread, and it will basically show you the cheapest bread on the market. So somebody mentioned Aldi's and Lidl's earlier. So oftentimes it would be those supermarkets where you would find the best deals. Okay, so with regards to shopping, again, plan and buy in advance. Start purchasing holiday essentials early to avoid any price hikes. Oftentimes, stores will, they will raise prices closer to the Christmas period, because there are last-minute shoppers out there, so they definitely increase prices for them. So, of course, take advantage of the Black Friday deals and Cyber Monday deals, but definitely you want to plan as early as possible. As well as that, you want to use cashback and reward programs. So you want to sign up for various apps such as Top Cashback, Quidco, there's Honey. You can find loads of deals on there. When I used Honey to buy my sister a bag about 2 years ago, it cost about £80, but when I used the Honey platform, they basically search the web for the best discount codes. They will apply it before you make the final purchase. So that bag that would have cost me £80, I got it down to about £50. Okay, so I've used Honey for various things. I used it to rent a car for the day. That would have cost about £74, but I got it down all the way to £7. Imagine that. So things like Christmases, birthdays, if you're planning on going abroad one day, use these discount code websites. Another one of my favorites, Airtime Rewards. When you're using Airtime Rewards to shop in certain retail stores, from Argos to Boots, even food places like Greggs, they're gonna when you're shopping in these stores, you're basically gonna collect points, and when you're ready to redeem your item, you're gonna get money taken off your mobile phone bill for the following month. So I redeemed mine about last week. I got £10 taken off. So I mentioned earlier, I'm now spending about £12 to £14 a month on my mobile phone bill. But when I redeemed it off Airtime Rewards, taking £10 off, I'm only going to pay about £2 or £4 next month. So really, really important. Use these comparison tools, use these various apps. I know I've mentioned a lot, probably hard to keep track, but what I'll do, I'll share it with Stephen at the end of the session. And then, Stephen, if you don't mind sharing it to the team so that they can all utilize these really, really great comparison tools and apps.
Sure.
Yeah, so another one, when it comes to fuel, again, fuel prices have gone up, cost of living has gone up because of the wholesale energy prices. Think about the war that's going on with Russia and Ukraine. If you're thinking about Brexit, COVID, if you remember, I think around the COVID period, there was endless amounts of traffic outside of petrol stations because everybody thought we was running out of petrol. But we have noticed petrol prices have gone up over the past few years as well. But there is a good app called Petrol Prices, literally, Petrol Prices. Download that app and it will basically compare the different petrol stations in your local area, and it will tell you where would be the cheapest for you to fuel up your petrol and your diesel. Okay, and then with the final category, the other, I would say try DIY. Try DIY gifting and decorations. Consider homemade gifts, which can be just as thoughtful. For example, baking a batch of cookies and packaging them nicely, or creating a photo album can make for meaningful gifts. I would also say limit travel expenses. So if you are visiting family, look for off-peak times to book tickets, or consider staying in with friends or family, which can save on accommodation costs. basically, with any of these, money saving ideas that I've given you today, you can still have a festive and enjoyable holiday season whilst staying within your budget. Okay. So now we're going to discuss generating additional income. Okay, even temporarily can be a great way to cover your holiday expenses. Okay, so a few points to consider on the screen. You've got seasonal part-time jobs. Many retailers, they do hire extra staff for Christmas. Even if it's just a few hours a week, they can help cover costs for the holiday season. You can have a look at freelance and gig work. So platforms like Fiverr, they let you offer, they do freelance skills from writing and graphic design to holiday card designs or personalized gifting options. You've got online marketplaces, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Amazon. They allow you to sell items that you no longer need or are unlikely to need in the future. So maybe you have children that have grown out of their clothes, or they're too big for their toys or their bikes. Basically, have a look around your house. If there's anything that you're unlikely to need again, use them, sell them. If you've got any clothes, for example, again, deliver the session. I mentioned earlier about the lady that got £25 worth of items for £2.50, £3 on Costa. She also mentioned she used an app called oh God, my mind has just gone blank. It's a clothing app, Vinted. So using an app called Vinted to sell any clothes that you don't need, you can make £300, £400 on them. One of my friends is doing this as well. She's basically making it a side hustle for himself, making about £300, £400, £500. Maybe you have old trainers. You'll be surprised. Even if you want to purchase items, use these same apps. The other day, I think last month or so, I saw designer items, Valentino for a cheap price. Whether or not they're real or not, I don't know. But my point is, you can get really, really cheap items from these platforms, and you can make a lot of money by selling items on these platforms. Also, offer any holiday services. If you enjoy things like baking, decorating, or wrapping presents, consider offering these services to maybe your neighbors or on local community boards. You can definitely make extra money. Earning a little extra through methods like this can provide just enough cushion to enjoy the holidays comfortably and without any financial worry. Okay, so that did you know at the bottom there. So UK households are missing out on £19 billion a year in unclaimed welfare benefits. So again, that goes to my point on having a look at those benefits checkers. Turn to us, entitled to, just Google searching benefits checkers online, and it will confirm whether you are entitled to any of these things. I definitely made use of it myself. Before I started delivering sessions like this, I was unaware that I would be able to claim any benefits. I thought because I'm working full-time in a bank, I wouldn't be eligible for any of these things, but it only took me about 5 minutes to complete the form, and then I started claiming child benefits, off the back of that. All right, so the final slide I'm going to discuss now is additional support. Many problems or money problems can affect mental health. As I said, it can also affect your physical well-being. So reaching out for help is important, and I would say it's a good idea to speak with friends and family members as well as trained professionals. It may feel difficult, but starting the conversations with somebody that you trust, it can help relieve some of the pressures that you may be feeling. There are also a number of organizations that can help. So on the screen, so I mentioned Shelter as well. I mentioned Step Change Charity. If you're struggling with mental health support, Mind Charity can provide loads of resources to help you borrow money effectively, helping you with budgeting. Loads of resources that is on that website. Really, really good. They also offer webinars as well. And then National Energy Action for Warm Homes. So around the COVID period, around 2020, I think they offered about over £1 million in support for people who were struggling with their energies. Okay, so if you're going to be struggling with your energy, please reach out to National Energy Action as well. Citizens Advice is a big one as well. So if you're being threatened with homelessness or you're being threatened with any support, anything that you need, Citizens Advice is definitely a good one to reach out to as well. Okay, so that pretty much brings us to the end of today's session. So what you can see on the screen are a few QR codes. Okay, so I'm going to talk through them. So the first one is to book yourself a financial health check. Okay, so this is where you can speak to someone for up to 30 minutes. So it could be myself or my team. We've got about 10 other consultants in the team. You can speak to us for absolutely anything, whether it's support with cost of living, whether you need to speak to someone about pensions or protection, debt, investing, savings, whatever it is. And regardless of where you bank, we'll be more than happy to discuss this with you. No charges to our services whatsoever. Okay. The second QR code will take you to our resources. So we'll take you to our HSBC website. So you can have a look at some benefits checkers. You can have a look at some calculators, online calculators to see, your interest rates, how long it's going to take you to clear them off. Debt consolidation loans, for example, how you can save effectively, how you can budget effectively, absolutely everything you would find on there. And then the third QR code will take you to a list of our webinars we have during the week called Always On. So we have retirement sessions every Friday. We have various topics across the week. So I will leave that on the screen just in case anybody is interested in any of our sessions. I will open up for any Q&As, any last minute questions we have coming through. Please feel free to type it in the Q&A box. And Stephen, if you don't mind reading any questions that we've had coming our way, and then I will address any questions coming forward. But really hope you've enjoyed the session as well.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. That was some really good tips, amazing tips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the mics on so people can be free to, ask questions themselves, raise their hands. We do have a question in the Q&A from Joanne. She says, can you share the sites you were talking about, please?
Yeah. Well, yes, I'll send that to you, Stephen, afterwards, if you don't mind
yes,
sharing it via email.
I will do that.
I'll compile a list of all the apps and resources that I mentioned today.
All right, good stuff. So I have just turned on the mics. If anyone wants to ask a question, please feel free to go ahead or put it in the chat.
Yeah, please don't be shy. As I said earlier, no such thing as a silly question. Chances are if you're thinking about it, someone else is as well. And we're all here to learn from each other.
Great stuff. We've got a lot of people finding the chat, finding your session, saying thank you for your session.
Oh, brilliant. Glad you enjoyed it. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I don't have a question, but it was really valuable with the stuff you said on there. And I tend to follow a lot of that, so I know I'm on the right track. So thank you.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, exactly that as well. Sometimes you're doing the right things already, but sometimes it's just good to get that second opinion from someone, just to make sure you are on the right steps. Because sometimes we can overthink that what we're doing, is it right? Is it the wrong thing? But a lot of the time you are going to be doing it. It's just one or two things that we can probably just sharpen up on. Just having a look at your statements, as I said earlier, cutting down on some of those weaknesses so that we can reduce our disposable income, like Joanne did in the case study that we looked at. So yeah, just carry on doing what you're doing.
I've got a question. You're talking about side hustles. Should we be wary about tax implications, and will that affect it? And how much is there an amount you can earn before you have to even consider tax? Because I've heard that a figure thrown around, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I would definitely say that as well. If you are, you're working already and you're considering side hustles or starting up a business, etc., make sure you do consider tax implications. Also consider what it means to your benefits if you are claiming anything. The tax threshold, so you need to be earning at least £12,570 to be, for there to be tax deductions. So that will put you in a 20% tax threshold. If you're earning over about £50,200 or so, you'll be charged about 40%, and then 45%. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head, but yeah, as I said, you just want to make sure you do consider the benefits and tax thresholds before you do take any side hustles up.
Great stuff. Colleen put in the chat that staff in social services and NHS have the blue light card. Do use it as there are plenty of discounts available with this blue light card.
Yeah. The discount. So I mentioned some discount code websites earlier on, some apps I mentioned, Blue. Yeah. So oftentimes you will have something with your employers. Review this with them. Review your pension scheme with them. Review whatever, any other benefits that you may have. If you have a cycle to work scheme or salary sacrifice, really important to have these conversations with your HR managers. There may be a few things that you wasn't aware of before. Maybe certain protection policies, life insurance. If you have children, life insurance, that's another one that people tend to shy away from. Life insurance needs to remain on your agenda as well. If something was to happen to you, worst case scenario, obviously we don't wish that on anybody, but if something did happen to you and you have a mortgage to pay, how would your dependents continue to live in that home? Okay, so oftentimes your employer will be offering something like this, a life insurance or life assurance scheme, critical illness cover, income protection. These are areas that you need to be looking at. And oftentimes it's not as much as people think that I make, because if it's not from your employer, it might be something external. You might be thinking, I don't want to pay that. But oftentimes it would be cheaper than what you're paying in some of these takeaways and restaurants, right? So it's also, the earlier you do this, the younger you are that you get it, the cheaper the policies are going to be. So please don't take that for granted.
Yes, thank you for that. We've got a question here. If someone's on a debt management plan, does the requirement to pay stop after 6 years? Or is this a myth?
No, basically, okay, so if you have a debt management plan, right? If you've realized you're struggling with debt, you've reached out to one of the debt advice charities that I mentioned, like Step Change, and they've considered all outcomes and they've had to put you on this debt management plan. It may have, chances are it is going to affect your credit rating. It is going to appear on your credit report. But once all of it has been paid off, right, it's going to stay on your file for up to 6 years. Okay, so I don't know how long it's going to take for you to clear off that debt. That's going to be something that would be arranged by you and the creditors and the debt advice charity. But once it's all said and done, it will be taken off your file after a total of 6 years. Same with bankruptcy or insolvency. It stays on your file for up to 6 years.
Thank you, Victor. That was really good.
Oh, you're welcome.
I just want to say thank you, Victor, for coming along and sharing all that wealth of knowledge. It's really important that we get that out there to our people, to our community. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And let someone know that tomorrow, this is a whole week from today till Friday of Money Talk. You're going to learn so much different things about money and investments and savings and everything. So please share with your work colleagues. Please tell them to come on board. They can register, and it's only for like an hour or so. So it's really good that people will come and register, and we do this for the team, for the workforce. So please come along for the rest of the week, and we shall see you soon. So take care and have a lovely day. Thank you, everyone. Bye now.